Alright, hello everyone. I've already shown you what a good introduction looks like, and so if you missed that video, please go back and take a look at it. So here's the setup, and so now we're going to actually get into the writing of our body paragraph, okay? So I'm just going to drop down here to get ready for that, but before I show you the structure of the body paragraph, I just want to go back and remind you. We go back to our outline, of course, and this is how it's set up. So first body paragraph is going to be focused on the military during the Jim Crow era. So then, of course, I have my first fact here, and we've already talked about that in the outline video. If you haven't seen that, go back and take a look at that. And then, of course, I've got my details here. I've got another fact. I've got more details. I've got another fact, and I've got more details here. Now you can see I've called this just source 1 the whole entire way. So we're actually going to talk about in-text citations in this video. Remember, you're going to have a total of 9 in this paper, okay? Because it has to include 9 cited facts. Now, for my first paragraph, I already told you my first source is from this guy right here, Richard Wormser, from The Rise and Fall of Jim Crow Stories, U.S. in World War I. And this is the source from PBS that some of you may actually be using. You may be using some of these sources from PBS. So make sure, some of those articles don't have a specific author, but like this one did. So please make sure that you're careful about that and if someone has actually written the section that you're using. Okay, so be very careful about that. All right, so anyway, moving ahead, we need to start, of course, with a with a topic sentence for our first body paragraph. Okay, so just give me 1 second here. Okay, I just needed to stop for a second and pull up this file. These are also available on these slides are also available on Google Classroom. Please check them out. This is slightly different than the body paragraph that I'm going to be constructing for you today in front of you here in a second, but it's still just as good in terms of just taking a look at the different steps. You can see it says start with the topic sentence, and I've got an example there. Follow that up with some research, and of course cite it. You can see this is like how you introduce the citation, you drop it in there, and then you actually do the in-text citation, the little parentheses here to let us know where it's coming from, okay? And then you comment on that, all right? You do the same thing again, introduce it, put the information in there, and then you comment on it again. Okay, and you can see here it says repeat that process a 3rd time, so I just kind of sped that up a little bit. And then of course you'll transition to your next body paragraph, okay? And then you just repeat those steps, all right? So make sure you're double spacing your rough draft, of course, as you're going through it. Use the in-text citations there, and just follow the directions as they are presented to you, okay? Now, let me just pull this up here and show you my example of my body paragraph for this paper, all right? So, just one moment. Okay, so I'm back. Let me just pull up the topic sentence here. Okay, so you can see this is my topic sentence for the body paragraph. It says the military during Jim Crow was a far different organization from what it is today. So again, I'll look at the example that I had here, and you can see it says this is going to only talk about during the Jim Crow era, the military during that time. Yours would be different, of course. So you would want to write a topic statement somehow referencing Jim Crow and the military, okay? Now, the next thing, of course, I want to immediately put some research in there. And you see how I introduce this source? This is very important. You need to introduce all of your sources, okay? Do not forget that step. Do not leave that out. You absolutely must introduce all of your sources whenever you are about to place in a fact from one of them. It's just better than having it totally out of context. Now, sometimes this isn't always necessary, but for this paper, I would like you to do that for each one that you include, because that just provides some context for me so I know where it's coming from, okay? So you see here it says, according to Richard Wormser from PBS.org. So that comes directly from my citation that I've shown you earlier. It says, when Jim Crow laws were in effect, some black soldiers were actually physically assaulted by police force or local police near the communities where they were stationed. And look right here. This is his last name. So this is the citation right here. Okay. Now remember, if this were an article title only and I didn't have the author, then I would put the first two words of that article title in here inside the parentheses, and I would put quotation marks around those first two words inside of the parentheses, okay? So don't forget that. That's a very important step. So it's a little bit different than if you have an author, okay? Now, I need to comment on this. And again, this is all just basically coming directly from my outline, okay? So from the outline video I showed you. This is the fact right here. I've cited it. Now I'm putting in my comments that I talked to you earlier about in the previous videos. So you see right here, I've just put those directly in there. Now, if you want to just comment with one sentence, honestly, that's fine. It needs to be something meaningful. So you're not just rambling, okay? It needs to be something that's meaningfully reflecting on the fact that you've just included. So this is where you're inserting yourself into the paper right here. And this is completely my thoughts, or these are completely my thoughts. This is not like something that is coming from my research. So you see it says, it's hard to imagine soldiers being mistreated by police officers in today's times. Considering that soldiers were treated like this, it's certain that regular black citizens were treated just as poorly or worse. All right, so I need more research. Now, because I'm pulling this from Wormser as well, look at how I set this up. In addition, Wormser states, so I'm not saying according to Richard Wormser from PBS, like we already know that. We already know his first name. We already know where he's writing from. So we don't have to do that again, okay? But notice how I have it punctuated here. Notice the quotation marks because this is a direct quote that I've included. And again, notice the in-text citation there at the end. So I'm going to comment on that again, and I've already done that. Okay, so you can see that as well. Now we're not done because each body paragraph has to include 3 facts, cited facts. So that adds up to a total of 9 total for the paper that I expect to see. So let me include my third one, and it kind of goes on to the next page. So hold on. It says in that same article, Wormser also makes it clear. So again, see what I'm saying? In that same article. So this is coming from the same article. Now, within some of your body paragraphs, like if you have 5 different sources, you may be kind of jumping around a little bit. So it just depends on you. It's up to you to write an appropriate introduction for each quote or each paraphrase. In that same article, Wormser also makes it clear that even though many black soldiers were very dedicated to the military, black soldiers were rarely promoted, and they seldom received good training as compared to white soldiers. Okay? All right, so I got a comment on that. Clearly, this would make it impossible to maintain a strong military and likely make conditions dangerous for everyone on the battlefield, out on the battlefield, to have some people with less training than others. And there you have it. Okay, so very straightforward, and you would do the same thing for your other 2 body paragraphs. Having your 3 different in-text citations, introducing each quote or paraphrase, always citing it, commenting on it, the very next sentence you would want to have here would be a topic sentence for the next paragraph, and it would probably reference, you can see I'll go back to my outline, and yours should be done. I was just doing an example here, but it says this will only include ideas about the military for me, or the arts, voting for you, whatever you chose, since the Jim Crow era. So I'd want my next topic statement to be something related to how my topic has changed since Jim Crow. Okay? Then after that, of course, I want my body paragraph to be refocused on my position. Okay, so I might say something like, just general, I wouldn't exactly restate my thesis because that would be too repetitive. I might say something like, the military is stronger because it's diverse. Something just general like that, okay? Like just restating my position a little bit differently. But then, of course, I'm backing that up with facts from research that I've already done, okay? And I'm citing that as well. And then lastly, of course, I get ready to do my conclusion. And that's it, okay? So I'm going to make another video on the conclusion, and then I may have a couple others related to some other aspects of the paper, but this will basically cover the biggest parts of the paper here, okay? All right, thank you.